The college basketball experience, Duke Blue Devils 2022-23 season preview episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Networks, presented by WinBet. Bet $100 at WinBet and get $100 free bet. Head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/winbet. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET to claim your free bet today.
What's up, everybody? This is Cameron Crowe from Loyola Chicago Ramblers, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride. Shout out to the Broad Stop. Thank you, guys.
Yes, yes, yes. Woo! Welcome to the college basketball experience. Duke Blue Devils 2022-23 season preview episode. My name is Colby Swinging Database Dan, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I smoke and I drink, and I don't have stress, and I'm healthy.
Yes, it's fun to talk Mike Elko and Duke football. Subscribe to the college football experience, but this is the college basketball experience. Subscribe. We come together as one on YouTube, youtube.com. / the college experience, because college basketball season, we've been previewing since August these teams, and when the season tips off, I come to you every single night, handicapping games, talking about the conference races, talking about all what's happening in college basketball. Been doing this shit for years, as me, Patty C, and NC Nick have handicapped every single Division I college basketball and college football game for the past 5 years. Never had a losing season. How about that? I am joined by my co-host. Give it up for. This guy, I like to say the DFS god. Come play DFS with us when the season starts, but this is a Duke Blue Devil fan at heart. All right. Give it up for the rooftop IPA drinking, homebrew making, tobacco road living, the free lock giving, former Herndon Basketball League MVP. Give it up for NC Nick in the place to be.
There we go, dude. I just got to bounce my step over here, man. I want to lace up the sneakers, get back out on the hardwoods. It's nice. It's nice to be here talking college basketball. My Duke Blue Devils, GBO Farms in the chat. Yes, this is real, actual live, not fake live. And Duke made the right hire, and that hire would not have been Rick Barnes. No offense to Rick Barnes, but no, dude, I'm excited for Duke this year. I'm excited for college basketball.
Yeah, college basketball is fantastic, and for Duke, it's the gigantic year because it's life after Coach K. NC Nick's been a Duke fan since the late 80s, where we grew up in the same household, so I've been hating the Duke Blue Devils. Well, not necessarily hating, but I just like to see brother misery, if that makes sense.
We're used to haters. It's all good.
Yeah, I just like brother misery. Doesn't matter if it's Duke. Doesn't matter if it's whatever sport, whatever team. It's fun to see brother misery. But this is a crucial point, I would say. You've seen this transition already happen, whether it was Dean Smith or whether it was Roy Williams. At some of these other blue bloods, you've seen these transitions happen. Bobby Knight, you've seen it work the wrong way and you've seen it work the right way. North Carolina being the right way, Bobby Knight being, the wrong way. Cause after him, who did they bring in first after him? I don't even remember. Was it Amaker? Not Amaker. No. Mike Davis. Mike Davis. Yeah.
Sounds right. I think that's accurate.
But either way, I guess he made a national championship, so I couldn't bash him too much.
Yeah, but he didn't last there very long. So yeah, look, so at somebody my age, I think I might be the only one that can say I've never gone through a coaching change with my favorite college basketball team until this year, which is crazy to say. But I think we got it right. I think if you look, Scheyer obviously is unproven. And I was the same person last year that said about Hubert Davis, I was like, I don't know. The guy's never been a coach anywhere before. Well, the same thing you can say about Jon Scheyer. Not only has he not been a head coach anywhere before, he's never been an assistant coach anywhere else before.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously there's big time question marks, but I mean, just out the gate, the recruiting, like who would have thought Duke's recruiting would be better after Coach K left?
Yeah, and we're gonna get to them in a second. I mean, yes, but you are correct, and but I just want to there are John Thompson when he left Georgetown. I'll throw him in the mix with Knight.
Sure.
These programs that were Indiana and Georgetown, and I'm sure I could think of others. Maybe you could mention UCLA after Howland.
Sure.
Or maybe after Wooden. I don't know, but it's a critical year. I mean, yes, the impact freshman. We will talk about that in a second, but let me just rattle off. I know it wasn't Scheyer last year, but we are gonna recap a little bit. Last year, obviously Duke was fantastic, 32-7, 16-4 in the ACC. ATS, they were 20-17, 54%. You look back at last year's team, and we do this for every one of these teams. This is kind of the rare exception where these stats aren't going to matter too much because so much turnover happened.
It's a whole new roster and a whole new coach.
Yeah. Adjusted offense, they were first in the nation. Adjusted defense charting at 49th. They were 37th in the nation at shooting the three. 66 in offensive rebounding, surprisingly 227th defensive rebounding, and that might have been what did them in essentially. 107th in free throw shooting and 172nd in pace. 21st in the nation at taking care of the basketball. On a lot of these, they actually really do mean something because I'm like, oh, they're returning these. But when you look at this roster, everyone's gone. So Coach K is gone. Number one, only the most successful coach perhaps in American sports history. The Paolo Banchero is a member of the Orlando Magic. He's gone. 17 points, 8 boards a season ago. Wendell Moore Jr. He's on the Minnesota Timberwolves. 13 points, 5 boards. Trevor Keels is on the New York Knicks. 12 points, 3 rebounds a year ago. Mark Williams, the big man, he's on the Charlotte Hornets. He averaged 11 points, 3 blocks a year ago. AJ Griffin, he's on the Atlanta Hawks. He averaged 10 points and shot 45% from 3 a year ago. And then even after that, 6'6" forward Joey Baker transferred to the Michigan Wolverines.
And how about my guy Theo John? Has he caught on anywhere?
Not that I noted.
I'm sure he's playing somewhere. Probably
I'm sure he will. Yeah. Yeah. Good for him. And then you have incoming. I mean, I should do let's do a commercial break before this because this is it's a lot coming in, a lot going out. Welcome
returning is a much shorter list. And look, it's going to be a very young and inexperienced team, but at least the point guard Jeremy Roach is back. Back for his junior season. Towards the end of his sophomore year, he really started coming into his own. Basically took over the point guard role from Trevor Keels. Had a very good first 3 games of the NCAA tournament. Struggled against UNC, but I do love having an upperclassman as your point guard. And I think he's destined for a big year.
Yeah. We're going to talk more about that in a second, but I want to tell you that the college basketball experience on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is presented by WinBet. Bet $100 at WinBet and get a $100 free bet. Head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WinBet. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET to claim your free bet today. We're also brought to you by Babbel. If you're like me and there's a foreign language that you regret not learning in high school, it's never too late to start with Babbel. Babbel is the language learning app that's sold more than 10 million subscriptions. Thanks to Babbel's addictively fun and easy bite-sized language lessons, you can finally learn that new language and scratch that off the bucket list if that's your thing, or maybe you just need to do it for your job. I don't know. But I mean, it is absolutely fantastic. They're 10-minute lessons, people. All right. Look, I feel like I probably have ADD. But 10 minutes, I think I could handle that. All right. Other language apps use AI for their lesson plans, but Babbel lessons were created by over 150 different language experts and voiced by real native speakers, not computers, people. So the teaching method has been scientifically proven to be effective. And there are so many ways to learn with Babbel. In addition to lessons, you can access podcasts, games, videos, stories, even live classes. Plus, it comes with a 20-day money-back guarantee. Start your new language learning journey today with Babbel. Right now, get 55% off your subscription when you go to babbel.com/SGP. Once again, that's Babbel, BABBEL.com/SGP for up to 55% off your subscription. Babbel, language for life. All right, we are back talking Blue Devil basketball, and let's just key in for a second here on these impact freshmen before we talk transfer portal. This class is unfucking believable. It's almost hard to believe. And it makes me wonder, like, will they live up to the talent? Because you look at this thing and you say, okay, I'm counting 4 top 100 recruits, 5 top 140 recruits. That's amazing. Let's start it off with 7-1 center Derek Lively, the number 1 recruit in the nation from Norristown, Pennsylvania. They also have Derek Whitehead from Florida at the number 2 recruit in the nation. They also have the 6'7" center Kyle Filipowski.
6'11".
Did I say 6? What did I say?
You said 6'7".
Oh, I'm sorry. 6'11".
Filipowski.
Yeah, that's such a Duke last name. He's ranked number 4 recruit in the nation out of Massachusetts. A 6'8" forward Mark Mitchell comes in out of Wichita, Kansas. That's tough because you're stealing one of that's. We should talk about that for a second, right there. Going into Kansas and taking away one of their guys.
College basketball recruiting is nationwide, though. It's not really regional, especially with like the blue bloods.
Yeah, number 22 recruit in the nation. Then they got the number 68 recruit in the nation, Jaden Shutt out of Illinois, and then the 7-1 center Christian Reeves, number 139 recruit in the nation from Virginia.
I think you're forgetting Tyrese Proctor, who came up a year to join.
That's right.
This year.
That's right.
He's number 27 in the nation.
That's right. I forgot about that. I had that in my notes, but I forgot about that when reciting that. I mean,
it might be the best recruiting class I've ever seen.
No, I'm pretty sure it is. When I'm thinking about, like, I don't know what, I mean, obviously we didn't have these type of recruiting rankings with like the Fab 5 or UNLV or something, but I mean, I feel like this would be on par with the best I've ever seen, if not the best.
And we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit because we're here to talk about this year's Duke team, but next year he's already inked 5 stars.
That's insane.
The recruiting is going to be crazy, but I would like to say something about recruiting because I know some Duke fans and some other fan bases, they love to win the offseason. They just love hearing all these players come in. For me, I don't care as much. I don't care how many 5 stars they got. I care about what team they're going to be come season. I don't care about who you're inking in April and May and June. Obviously it matters, but it only matters so much as well because we've seen teams like Villanova who are always going far into the NCAAs without getting all this pub for the best recruiting classes ever. So don't get me wrong. I mean, while it's nice to bring in this kind of talent, you still have to do something with it. And I think it can be a challenge if you're changing over the entire roster every year. For example, let's take a look at the Final Four last year. Okay. Kansas, they won. They started 2 seniors, a junior, and 2 sophomores. UNC came in second. They started 2 seniors, a junior, 2 sophomores. Villanova, 4 seniors and a sophomore. And then there's Duke, who actually was a little bit more experienced last year, a junior, 2 sophomores, and 2 freshmen. So just because you get the best recruiting class does not mean you're going to the Final Four. It does not mean you're cutting down any nets.
Well,
so
I mean, we've seen Kentucky struggles under Calipari and some of those great recruiting classes. I don't think it was ever this good, but I mean, he had some really good classes, and they did struggle in the NCAA tournament. They made the tournament, but
the fan who loves winning the offseason or the fan who loves like players getting drafted in the NBA, that's all fine and dandy. But I care more about what they're doing while they're at Duke. So I just had to throw that out there.
Well, I mean, we're gonna project the starting 5 in a minute, but they also did hit the transfer portal. And I thought this was an essential get. Is 6'6" guard Jacob Grandison from Illinois.
Huge.
That one was I think a huge get, much like, but I mean, it seems like Carolina bounces right back and gets Pete Nance. But obviously these portal gets absolutely huge because before that, okay, you bring in 6'10" Ryan Young from Northwestern. I think he will fit in well with Duke. Also brought in 6'6" forward Cale Catchings from Harvard. I don't know how much burn he'll get, but I mean,
I don't see too much from them. And so other than Roach, Duke was going to have a really inexperienced backcourt. And even a bunch of these freshmen coming in, those top 4 guys are more front court players. So I thought it was crucial to bring in some more experience. If you look at Grandison, 6'6", shooting guard, he played 25 minutes a game for Illinois last year, shot 45.5% from 3. If anything, we were also missing a dead-eye shooter before we brought Grandison in. And I know Duke was active. They were in the mix with a couple other players, but huge transfer get in the portal because he should start at the 2 right away.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when I saw that one, I said, "Oh, I mean, it made sense." I know there was speculation that I think he was looking at Arizona as well, but I thought it made perfect sense to go to Duke.
Yeah.
All right, I want to project the starting 5, but before I get there, I want to tell you we're brought to you by No House Advantage. Yes, No House Advantage is changing the game by offering the most dynamic fantasy sports platform available today. Play and pick 'em contests versus other people for a shot at winning $250K in cash. Yes, download the app, choose a contest, select your player props. Earn points for corrected picks and climb up the leaderboard for your shot to win big money every day. You can also test your skills versus the house and win 20 times the amount you enter if you hit all your picks. And it's not just NFL, it's NBA, it's MLB, it's PGA, it's MMA, it's NASCAR. So make sure you check out No House Advantage today. Sign up with the promo code SGPN at nohouseadvantage.com or download the app to get a first deposit match up to $25. We're also brought to you by PromoGuide.us. Yes, PromoGuide.us is the best place to go if you're interested in plus EV betting strategies. And look, I got to say, we've been looking at their daily promo updates, and they have some of the most informative in the game. They don't simply tell you what team is probable to win, but they'll more like tell you, where to get the best odds and how to track down or cash in big on all the constantly changing promotions. Promo Guy is ran by a team of small, passionate sports fans dedicated to building a well-informed, better betting community. Go to promoguide.us and check out their 100% track, transparent, and proven method for betting smarter. So make sure you check out promoguide.us. We're also brought to you by Odds Trader. Yes, Odds Trader is a place to compare odds from all the major sports books. You can also compare the different sign-up codes and promo codes from sportsbook to sportsbook to assure that you get yourself the best deal possible. It also has a bet tracker so bettors can keep records of all your games and betting activity. So go to oddstrader.com/Blue Wire. OddsTrader, the #1 site for all your game day bets. All right, we are back. A lot of these ad reads.
And we are live. Terrell Furman, the noted UNC fan, coming in to ruin our party again.
Oh, yes. He's sitting there saying, I know he's licking his chops at a chance to get these young freshmen, see how they can do up against Baycott and Davis.
Everybody's saying UNC is going to be a Final Four team. Just like, look, people were saying the same thing about UCLA this year or this past year. Bringing back everybody. So all I'm saying is, man, you still got to prove it on the court. Okay.
It's easy to see a tide turn.
Ooh. Look, well, I mean, Jon Scheyer's got his work cut out for him because
when we were winning conference titles and going to the Final Four, we were making a statement.
Can he make a statement in year one? I look at what we see here. I'm projecting this starting 5, and I'm talking out of my ass a little bit here because there's so many freshmen. Most of the time, I can actually project a starting 5. I'm assuming.
I think there's 6 guys who could start. So I have my 5, what I think it's going to be, but I don't think it's that crazy. I mean, we haven't seen these guys play at the college basketball level yet, but it's, I think it's pretty cut and dry. Give or take one guy maybe, but go ahead.
Yeah. So Jeremy Roach and Grandison, I think that's the 2 we can count on.
Yeah, I think so. Right.
After that, I'm assuming it's Whitehead, Filipowski, and Lively, but could it make a case for something different?
I think my thing is I think Filipowski might come off the bench. I think Mark Mitchell might start, the other 5-star. Yeah, it's just really how big do you want to go? I mean, if you have Filipowski and Lively, you got a 6'11" and a 7'1" guy. most college basketball isn't playing those kinds of bigs, and Duke traditionally, at least over the last decade or so, they haven't liked to have, two bigs on the court also. So I wouldn't be surprised if Mitchell is actually the fifth starter. And, I've been hearing a couple of things, like people that are more triggered in on the Duke program that they think it might be Mitchell. But we'll see who impresses more leading up to the season.
Yeah. I mean, either way, what would be a great year? I mean, I guess I'm getting ahead of myself.
You're Duke.
Like,
I know.
I know. Year one, you're super young. You're probably, if I'm gonna, we're gonna take a look at the schedule in a second, but I'm making the assumption that they'll be projected third in the ACC. I think North Carolina and Virginia will be the clear cut 1 and 2, right? Carolina being 1, UVA being 2.
Sure.
I'm assuming every publication, maybe even some, will have Duke 2. I don't know, but I'm saying third is where I would pick them, right? So I don't know. We'll get to it. We'll get to it at the end, I guess. Let's rattle through the fucking schedule. But so let's start. The Jacksonville Dolphins come on November 7th. My Jacksonville Dolphins.
They were an ATS darling of yours a year ago.
My Jacksonville Dolphins. Watch out. That's all I'm saying. All right, you're gonna win, but watch out for my Dolphins. I mean, the schedule. Okay, after that, you get South Carolina Upstate, Cameron Indoor Stadium, and then we get to some real basketball here. All right, the State Farm Champion Classic when you take on the Kansas Jayhawks. I think this is just a gigantic game. I know it's early in the year and we see these matchups almost every year. It seems like, this is in Indianapolis. Kansas is returning some pretty good pieces. I think I would kind of think Kansas would be favored in this matchup when you look at all that's out there right now. DeJuan Harris is back. Jalen Wilson is back. They got Kevin McCullough from Texas Tech. They also got Grady Dick. I like to say that guy's name because it's fucking hilarious. And Zach, what is it, Clements? I mean, they lost a lot. Coleman Lands and Lightfoot and Abaji and McCormick and Braun and Martin are all gone. But you like your chances to win that one?
Yeah, I mean, I think Duke's actually done really well in these Champions Classic, and if you look at including the games last year, Duke has the best record. So every year, in case you don't know, it's Duke, Kansas, Kentucky, Michigan State, and they rotate opponents every 3 years. But straight up, Duke is 7-4, Kansas is 6-5. So those two programs have been the most successful in this little annual thing. It seems like Duke always comes out the gate and they play really well. It was against Kentucky last year. And then they have a couple letdown games. Then they have a stretch in like January where all the young freshmen are finding their way in ACC play, and they drop a couple maybe ACC road games. And then hopefully they rebound and regroup and are playing their best basketball come March. But obviously this is a great game. Could go either way. And I love this annual tournament that they do.
Well, I think it's a gigantic game because, how fast can we learn about Duke? I mean, we saw this with Kentucky in years past. Like, can you grow up really right away? Getting a win like this could be, obviously I think Duke will be in the NCAA tournament, but it could be critical for seeding. They get after Kansas, they get Delaware, the Blue Hens. They made the NCAA tournament last year, but they lost some key guys in the portal. That's in Cameron Indoor. Then Bellarmine. I don't fucking remember how to pronounce that one. But then they play in the Phil Knight Legacy. They do play up in Portland, Oregon. They take on the Oregon State Beavers, who lost everybody. Jared Lucas is at Nevada. Alatisha's gone. They lost another kid to Mississippi State. They're going to roll there. But here's what's interesting. They're going to get the winner of Florida and Xavier. Those are lose. I mean, I would favor Duke, but I mean, wouldn't surprise me. I thought Xavier brought Sean Miller comes back to the scene of the crime. And then,
sure.
He brings back a lot of veterans there. Florida, Todd Golden, year one, the former San Francisco head coach. And then the winner of that is, I mean, if you look at this, it's hard to forecast, but I would assume it's going to be Gonzaga.
Probably.
Could be Purdue, Could be West Virginia. Technically, it could be Portland State. I'm assuming it's going to be Gonzaga.
And hopefully we'll see Duke Gonzaga on almost an annual basis now. They played last year. Duke got the win there. They played.
That was a great game. That was a great game last year.
They also played when they had RJ Barrett and Zion. Was that 3 years ago now?
Yeah.
So they're almost playing every year now. It would be nice to get that set up annually. And I don't know if it will ever happen, but can we do a home and home? I mean, Duke has scheduled that with Arizona now.
I want to see them go to the kennel. John Calipari, what did he schedule a game in Spokane? Yeah. But it's not at the kennel. Come on,
let's do a home and home, man. I want to see them there. Then I want to see Gonzaga in Cameron. And look, so obviously, right when Coach K leaves, what happens? Duke inks a home and home with Arizona. So we know Scheyer is not going to be against those moving forward. And as a basketball fan, you have to like that.
Yeah, college football and college basketball is always better when you play into your strengths.
Yes,
and that is the home environments. Then after that, so I mean, I would say between Gonzaga and Kansas, if they can just win one of those two, they got to avoid the upset from Florida Xavier.
Yeah.
And I think you're looking at a pretty damn good November. I mean, well, I guess you still have the Ohio State game in Durham. Ohio State should be they did pretty well in the portal, I thought. That one could be tricky.
If you remember, they beat Duke at Ohio State last year in the ACC Big Ten Challenge because Duke was kind of riding high off that big Gonzaga win, and the Buckeyes got them. Yeah,
that's the one that could be interesting as well, I guess. Then you jump into early November. You get that. I mean, not early November, early December. You get the early ACC game, and they gifted you a little Boston College game here at Cameron Indoor.
Let's start off light, okay? We're a young team. Let's get a home ACC game against.
Make sure Jon Scheyer's first ACC game is a win. I get it.
Exactly.
I get it.
Exactly.
Then you got the Jimmy V Classic going on in Madison Square Garden up in New York City against the Iowa Hawkeyes.
It seems like Duke plays a game at MSG every year, so this is Iowa this year.
I don't think Iowa's going to be as good as years past this year, so I think it's a great
Murray, right?
Yeah, they still got his brother, but yeah. Then you get Maryland Eastern Shore in the Crab Leg Classic in Durham, North Carolina. That should be an easy one. Let me ask you about this one though. Right before Christmas, on Tuesday, December 20th, Duke is at Wake Forest. Steve Forbes took some huge hits, banking on the portal again with a little bit of some production coming back. Tricky.
I mean, he was pretty successful a year ago, and yeah, he has a decent amount of roster turnover here too. But yeah, I mean, I think a couple of these first ACC road games are always tricky for Duke because they have so many young guys. They don't know what it's like to go on the road, and especially in conference where it's just a little bit different.
All right, and then the last one in 2022 on December 31st, so New Year's Eve. You're telling me we're gonna be sitting there? You're telling me we're gonna be popping bottles and watching Florida State come into Durham, North Carolina. That Florida State pretty good. I think kind of underrated coming into the season based on a talent projection.
Kind of a down year last year. I would not be surprised if Leonard Hamilton hasn't back up this year.
So let me ask you this: what do you think through just 2022, ending it right there? What do you expect their record to be? You got Jacksonville, South Carolina, upstate. That's 2. Delaware, Bellarmine 3, 4. Oregon State 5.
Yeah.
Boston College 6. Maryland Eastern Shore 7.
Now probably have 2 L's. Yeah, I say between Kansas and Gonzaga, they probably drop one, and then maybe they lose one of those ACC games. So
Florida Xavier maybe in Portland.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe an upset. I actually think Xavier is better than what we think, or
right.
And
hold on, isn't that all part of the same Phil Knight thing? So if they lost in the second round, they probably wouldn't play Gonzaga.
Yeah, exactly. So 2 losses would be where should Duke fans be pissed? Do you think 3 or 4?
I think if they had 4 losses, I think it'd be very surprising.
Well, hear me out then. If
Three
it
is
was
still not good, but 4 would be
let-
very surprising. And I think people would be scratching their head. But look, if you go back to last year and look at UNC and Hubert Davis, they were looking very rough until mid-January or so, maybe even a little bit later than that.
Yeah, I think
You know,
even
they
later
were
than that.
playing
Yeah.
no defense. It looked like they had, maybe locker room problems, but they turned it around. So I would just say you got to be patient with such a young team.
Well, look, I want to get to the rest of the schedule, but I want to get us paid one more time. Want to tell you we're brought to you by the Elias Game Plan app. Yes, did you know that the best day of the week is actually Monday, Thursday, and Sunday over at Elias because it's NFL season, their favorite time of year. And look, whether you're just into fantasy football or you're betting on your team or just talking highlights around the water cooler at work, the NFL season is a lot better because of the Elias Game Plan app. Yes, the ultimate sports betting and fantasy companion for the NFL, NBA, MLB. The Elias Game Plan app is the only sports app from the most trusted name in sports stats. Yes, the Elias Sports Bureau, the official statisticians of U.S. pro sports leagues. And look, if you get this app, they'll get you league validated team and player news and stats, head-to-head comparisons ahead of their matchups. They'll give you key Elias insight, the expert game analysis, tell you which teams you should bet on. They'll help you, with your fantasy lineups. You got to check it out, folks. Elevate your NFL season today and download the Elias Game Plan app. That's ELIAS. And right now I have a special offer for when you do subscribe. Get 15% off your annual subscription, but only if you use the promo code SGPN15. Find the Elias Game Plan sports betting app in the App Store or Google Play Store and use that promo code SGPN15. And last but not least, we're brought to you by Fubo TV. If you watch football, you need Fubo TV. Fubo TV gives you complete coverage of college and pro football with NFL Red Zone plus games in 4K at no extra charge. There's over 100 channels of live sports and entertainment for a fraction of the price of cable. You can watch it on all your devices, never miss a game or an episode of your favorite TV show because they got cloud-based DVR included with it. Plus, there's no contract, there's no commitment, and you can cancel at any time. So right now you can try Fubo TV for free for 7 days, and you can get 15% off your first month. Just go to FuboTV.com/SGP. That's FUBOTV.com/SGP. All right. So look, the remaining part of the schedule is all ACC games. I'm not going to go game by game and rattle off all 32. All right. But I am curious the stretch that scares you the most, like the stretch where you go, I know there was a stretch with North Carolina last year, and I know not to compare them, but there are so many. It's so easy to compare with North Carolina, from a rivalry standpoint, and also
with the
replacing.
changes.
Yeah.
Right.
But there was a stretch where you were like, man, they can't get a win. They look like shit. And is there a stretch that you say, man, I don't know how, if the chips are down and maybe we get upset and you walk into this other 3 or 4 game stretch where it might be tough to buy a win. What stretch catches your eye?
Yeah, I think you got to be looking at early February. It starts off with the first game against UNC. That one is in Durham, thankfully, but still obviously a tough matchup where UNC will probably be favored. And then you got to go on the road, back-to-back road games at Miami, at UVA. That's a tough stretch. And then even coming home against Notre Dame, and I think Notre Dame's gonna be solid, and they're always, they've played Duke well over the last 5 years or so. So and usually that's kind of the stretch where maybe sometimes like freshmen hit a wall. So yeah, right there you go, man. That's a tough stretch of 3 or 4 games.
So yeah, I agree. I think when I looked at this, I said, okay, that UNC game, even the game before it, which is Wake Forest. It could be tricky. And then, at Miami, I know the crowd doesn't always come out there, but I feel like
they do against Duke.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. So against USC or Duke, those crowds are going to come out anywhere. So yeah, the place will be lit, as you like to say.
Yes. Then they go to UVA and then home to Notre Dame and at Syracuse. That is a very tough part of the season, I would say. So when it's all said and done,
so
Jon
overall,
Scheyer,
I think you got to take a quick look at who they played twice within the league. So obviously they play UNC twice. I think it is favorable that they only have UVA once and they only have Florida State once.
I enjoy the fact they end the season getting NC State and North Carolina. So they play both of them twice.
Yeah.
Thank you, ACC, for not fucking that up. But I do like the fact, the final week of the season, the last 2 games the Blue Devils will be playing this year in the regular season is NC State and North Carolina.
That's right. All within about 15 miles from my house. Beautiful.
There you go, man. So hold on. Let's get to it. What is what is the ceiling on this dude? You think you can't say national championship this year, right?
Yes, you can. Why not? I mean, yeah, they were in the Final Four last year.
I know, but they lost everybody.
They played a very, very close game where they could have, obviously they could have won that game and went to the championship. And they were a little bit more experienced last year.
You're right, actually, because I was going to say if Hubert Davis got there and they blew an 18-point lead, right? And you're right. I guess the ceiling is the national championship. I just think with Scheyer year 1 and everyone else coming back to college basketball, that's something that I think is a continuing development. Right. Is whether it's Timmy coming back at Gonzaga, Baycott at Carolina, and so many other schools bringing back some key players.
Right. Honestly, I'm not picking Duke to win it all. I'd love it if they did. So if that's not real, well, I think it is realistic. I mean, it's possible. Duke is probably one of 10 teams that can win it, but I would favor probably 7 or 8 higher. So I mean, just say Final Four then. But every year when it's so young and you have such great roster turnover, and it sounds like chances are it's going to be the same thing next year. Because I would imagine if you're like a top 5, top 10 recruit in the nation, you're probably one and done. So that's what I don't know.
I don't know with the NIL now.
True.
You could have this is a changing game. I know Timmy wasn't projected to be a top 20 pick or something, but
that's what you want. I mean, like if in a perfect world, you blend top-notch freshman talent with experience, and you have really good college players who aren't, surefire NBA first-round draft picks. Take UNC, for example. Armando Baycott, he knew that he was probably going to be a second rounder. Even Caleb Love and RJ Davis, they weren't going to be lottery picks probably, but they're really good college players. So if you're at a big time program and you can make a couple mil NIL, why not stay?
Yeah. I think we could be entering a bit of a renaissance with college basketball back to the 80s era with the NIL bringing back some key players. I almost think, you could get paid that same type of money playing in Bulgaria or something if you're not a top, because to me, if you're a projected second round pick, that's still a hell of a gamble, because the way that the second rounders go to Europe and get players, I think that's a hell of a gamble right there. And I think I'd rather stay put.
And you probably make more money staying put.
Yeah. Long term. I think so.
And you can still stay on campus. You be close to friends and family and not in some foreign country.
Yeah.
Or the G League when you're playing in Sioux Falls or something, in front of 15 people. Yeah.
I've played, in Sioux Falls in front of 15 people before, but it was stand up and it was not fun. All right. Anyway, folks, let's talk about this. What's a disastrous season? What is a panic mode?
It's the Coach K COVID season where they probably would have made the NCAA tournament.
Okay.
Who was the guy, the one and done that year who quit midway through?
I know who you're talking about.
Geez.
And he went to I know who.
Jalen Johnson.
Yes.
That's his name. See,
yes.
There's so many of them. I forget them.
Yeah. And that's right though. And there was a couple other ones I feel like with big, programs where a coach left. I can't recall off the top of my head what the first year after Bobby Knight at Indiana was, or I know Thompson though. When Thompson left, I know Georgetown struggled because it was before they turned to their son, or before they turned to his son.
But one thing they didn't have is this kind of talent coming in. I mean,
that's true.
It'd be hard to fuck this up. Now that doesn't mean Duke doesn't lose 8 or 10 games and then lose in the second round of the NCAAs. I mean, I think that's on the table. That's possible. But in order for the train to really go way off the tracks, I think it'd be tough with this, talent that's been amassed in Durham.
Yeah. Where do you have them finishing in the ACC?
I think third is probably actually fine. Yeah. I think just the experience over the long course of conference play, I think that kind of lends itself to teams maybe maybe with a little bit lower ceilings. Like maybe UVA doesn't have as high of a ceiling, like, postseason wise as Duke. But yeah, I think UNC and UVA probably are 1 and 2. I think that's going to be a consensus, but I rank Duke 3rd.
I agree. You're following my footsteps there.
All right. So all I know, Jon Scheyer is gonna one up Hubert Davis. He's not going to get to the championship. He's going to win the championship.
I'm not going there. I think Elite Eight. Give me an Elite Eight appearance.
All right.
Give me an Elite Eight appearance for Duke. If I gun to my head here, let's go. All right. I cannot wait to watch this season. There's so many compelling storylines in college basketball. Life without Coach K, with this ridiculous class coming in. How fast can they grow up? You got North Carolina returning everybody. The ACC, by the way, that had such a down year in the regular season. Everyone was talking shit about them, including myself. Shout out in the NCAA tournament.
Still had half the Final Four, right? Yeah,
still had half the Final Four, and I think they might be deeper this year. I know that you could say, okay, well, they don't have Coach K and Duke, but I think Miami, going out in the portal and getting some key players there. I even think NC State, they were injured last year. They could be a little bit better. Wake Forest. I think even the floor for the most part. I think Boston College will be better in year 2 of Grant's tenure, and then I just think that the conference is coming up a little bit. Yeah, there's still concerns. Clemson, Georgia Tech, they might be shitty, but I mean, it's gonna be fun to watch, folks. Subscribe to the college basketball experience, and remember, folks, subscribe to the college football experience. Mike Elko doing a fantastic job at Duke. We got you covered when it comes to that. I'm pretty heavy on them this weekend, but subscribe over there to the college football experience. Remember, we come together as one on YouTube, youtube.com/the college experience. Subscribe, tell a friend, as we love to talk college football and college basketball and college baseball. So let's get into it, folks. Subscribe to the Sports Gambling Podcast. Also check out the NFL Gambling Podcast, the MLB Gambling Podcast, as that season heats up. And yeah, give us go to iTunes and give us a 5-star review. We're doing these previews all year. Come on now, get over there. It takes 2 minutes out of your day. All right. College basketball experience on iTunes. We're also on Twitter at TCE on SGPN, NC Knicks on Twitter at NC_NICK. I'm on Twitter at the Colby D. Give us all a follow. And yeah, I'm excited for this. Hop in the Discord. You're a Duke Blue Devil fan, or maybe you just like ACC basketball. Hop in the Discord. We talk college hoops year round there. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord, or you can get the SGPN app for free in the App Store, Google Play Store. I think you'll dig it. All right, enough promoting. This is the college basketball experience, Duke Blue Devil style. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
What the fuck did I do wrong?
Nothing is over. Nothing. You just don't turn it off.
I broke my back. What do you mean by that? My back is broken. What, a vertebrae or spine?
It's easy to see a tide turn.
It's the Olympics. Doesn't matter who wins because they're all losers.
You are nothing but a chameleon, lemon-headed, coward, terrorist pussy. And I'm after you, buddy. You're going to pay for it. Good night.
When we were winning conference titles and going to the Final Four, we were making a statement.